Well, I don't know if you know this, Kim. She here? Hi, Kim.
Hi, Bubba.
I always put Kim in my
I know, I love it. Okay, rice is a staple food of over half the world's population, and here to give us the scoop is Dan Kohler, and we want to find out where rice originated from first.
Okay, well, believe it or not, every variety of rice, and we have a bunch here, every variety of rice is believed to have originated from one single domestication of rice in the Chinese Pearl River Valley 12,000 years ago. It is one of the oldest domestications, and as you said, it feeds nearly the entire world.
It does.
It's the third highest crop production in the world, below sugarcane and corn.
Wow, is it really a grain?
It is actually a grain, so it's a grass and a grain. We use some of those words back and forth sometimes. The way rice grows is as a grass. It is a tall, willowy grass. Now, it is a grain. This is a single grain of a grass species.
Interesting.
If that makes any sense.
Well, it's so starchy. How can it be a
It is so starchy, so let's get into that. There are four main varieties of rice. They are indica, japonica, aromatic, and glutinous. Now we'll talk about each of those. This is indica. Now, indica is about 75% of the rice you eat around the world is that variety. It's medium to longer grain, it's grown in hot climates, and it tends to be a little less starchy. So those are grains that can boil up individually. Then we move into japonica. Japonica was bred to grow in colder climates. That's what we have right here. In the colder climates, you get a shorter grain, something that has a little more starch to it and a little more heft. So that comes into sushi rices, right? Which you have right now. You can all eat in front of you. You have onigiri, which are Japanese rice balls.
Wow.
Then the aromatic rices, which we have right here in the middle. The aromatic rices are a very special breed of rices. These have very powerful flavors. You can smell them. So you have basmati and you have jasmine. So jasmine rice actually smells like jasmine flowers. And basmati rice, you as a cook must appreciate this. You open, a package of it and you can just smell.
They're very aromatic.
Right. And then the final variety that we have is called glutinous rices. Now, they're a bit of a misnomer. There is absolutely zero gluten in any glutinous rice. So everybody should make
Really? It's gluten-free?
All rice is gluten-free. It's called glutinous because it is gluten-like. It is sticky. Now, these are grown in Southeast Asia. They're very short grains and they're full of starch. Now, the other thing you see when you're buying rice at a store, you see grain length written on the package.
I was going to ask you that.
Medium, short, or long, right? So what does that mean? Well, when we have a longer grain, we're looking at ratios of starches inside. So there are two starches. You have amylose and amylopectin. In a longer grain, you have a lot of amylose, which means the grains boil up separately. They do not stick to each other. And that's what we have here. So in basmati and jasmine, they have a lot of amylose. They're not going to stick together. But amylopectin, pectin sounds familiar to you, yes?
Like in apples.
Exactly. So pectin is what we use to set jams and jellies. Amylopectin is what makes rice sticky and gooey. So we have that in risotto. We have that in arborio and carnaroli rice. We have that in sushi rices, right?
Where does arborio rice come from?
Arborio rice actually comes from Italy, but what's interesting, so all rice originated in China, and then it moved around Southeast Asia quickly, and then it traveled spice routes. That's how it got to Italy, because now we think of rice as being an international food. Every culture has its own rice. But it didn't actually cross the ocean. It didn't really get to South America until the mid-1500s, right? So it was in China 12,000 years ago, but it wasn't really in South America until the Spaniards came to conquer. So that's actually how rice traveled across the ocean, on conquering ships.
Right.
Now, every culture has a different way of cooking their rice. Sometimes you boil it in a lot of extra water and then drain it off to get separate grains. Sometimes you steam it so that it gets nice and sticky and you can eat it with chopsticks. But the thing that everybody really wants to understand, what's the difference between brown and white rice?
Yes.
Yes.
Isn't brown rice supposed to be healthier?
Yeah.
Brown is,
Maybe we should ask the doctor.
So brown rice is healthier. Brown rice is healthier.
Why is it healthier?
Rice is a four-part anatomy. There's something called the hull, then you have the bran, then you have the germ, and you have the grain, okay? So this is rice hulls. We use these for brewing beer. They're all stripped, even in brown rice. The hull is stripped off. This is almost undigestible for us. But the bran is what makes brown rice brown. So every rice that you've ever bought has a phase where it's a brown rice. To become white rice, they strip the bran off and they strip some of the germ off. So you are now having something that's almost pure starch.
Do they strip all the nutrients out of it too?
Well, they
when
take a good amount of the nutrients. So they take the germ out, and the germ is what every seed, every grain, every plant has this little germ in there, which is a tiny pocket of nutrition so that the grass can sprout forward. So when you rub off the bran, you end up taking off some of the germ. So you do lose some of that nutrition.
What do they just discard it? get rid
knows
of
what they
it?
do?
Because we could DIY it here, right?
We could. I'm sure.
we could
I'm sure.
repurpose
I'm
it.
sure I can repurpose it. We can paint the walls with it, or we can build a house. Yeah.